Welcome to Itchy Podcast. Fuck.
Good start. Well done. I knew this was a good idea, letting you do it.
Welcome to Itchy Tasty Podcast, where we talk about all things survival horror. On this episode, we will be discussing Resident Evil 2, the sequel to Resident Evil 1. This game came out in 1998, and that's all I can say about it. And I am Jarrs, and this is my sexy British man friend, Raspian.
Hello there.
Yeah.
No, thanks. Oh, well, thank you for the intro.
I just got done with the road trip.
Oh, yeah, you were on vacation. How was it?
It was fun for all of it, except a few times.
I don't remember the last vacation I ever went on. Oh, no, I went snowboarding. That was the last one I ever went on.
Oh, okay,
and it was before the dark times.
The dark time. Well, yeah. America is currently being stupid, so dark times don't exist here.
Oh, all times are dark times.
Agreed.
Cool. Well, as you said, we're talking about Resident Evil 2. Now, this, as we'll learn as we get on, this is kind of just a part 2 of Resident Evil 1, which was last week's, which everybody definitely listened to. Now, unlike last week, you have not played Resident Evil 2 for a very long time, have you?
I have not played it, I think, for around a year.
And we're talking about the original Resident Evil 2.
The original. I played the remake 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I haven't played the remake for a while. I have been playing a lot of Revelations 2 recently.
We'll get to that episode later.
I've decided I'm going to try and... I've decided I'm going to try and platinum it, which I'm already sort of regretting. I haven't played Resident Evil 2 for a very, very long time, but it was the first Resident Evil game I ever played myself. Wait, is that true? It might be true, but I remember I got my parents to buy me a copy of Resident Evil Survivor for PS1. Did you ever play that?
No, I have not.
Oh, it's really, really good. I mean, it's terrible.
I've heard that it was the best Resident Evil game ever.
Well, it's quite a good. It uses basically all the assets from Resident Evil 2, so it's all the same environments. No, I do think at some point we should dedicate some time to the weird Resident Evil games Gaiden and Survivor. But the point is, I never played RE1 until a little bit later. It was RE2 that I played first. And I think it was because I'd seen RE2 more. It's in more things, like TV shows and movies.
Oh, yeah. To me, I feel like RE2 and RE4 are the poster childs of Resident Evil.
The Leons.
Yeah, Leon is the poster boy for Resident Evil,
especially in the 90s, because in RE2 the main character Leon has he's got ginger hair and a center parting, right?
Yes.
But it's almost like Capcom have tried to pretend that he didn't, because in RE4 he's blonde and he's got kind of a Peter Petrelli from Heroes kind of side fringe thing. It's like a slightly cooler version of a center parting from the 90s. And even in the recent remake, they've made him blonde instead of ginger. But I remember that he was ginger.
Okay, to be fair, I think it's silver, but I guess it can be seen as blonde.
It's definitely not ginger, though, in the remake.
Yeah, I wish they made it ginger.
Yeah, because he was full-on ginger. I remember, Capcom. You'll never erase the past.
I prefer ginger Leon, honestly.
Okay, well, you should let him know that.
Yeah, I'll message Capcom and be like, hey, yo, fool, Ginger Leon time, bitch.
So I think the first time I ever saw RE2 was probably in the TV show Spaced. Don't know if you ever watched that.
No.
It's the British TV show from the early 2000s, starring Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, and it was directed by Edgar Wright. So the trio that would go on to make Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, they made a TV series first, and there's one episode where Simon Pegg's character takes a bunch of speed and stays up all night playing Resident Evil 2. And he ends up hallucinating zombies in his lounge, and he's like stalking around his lounge with a shotgun, shooting them. And he even quotes the line from Resident Evil 2 that he played earlier in the game. Like at the end of the episode, he like grabs one of his friends and he's like, "There's no point in us staying around any longer than necessary. Let's split up, look for survivors, and get out of here."
That's great.
It's really funny, and it's clearly like what inspired them to then make Shaun of the Dead.
So Resident Evil 2, thank you for making Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, basically, yeah. But I just remember watching that and thinking, "Whoa, that game looks cool."
Yeah, that game it has graphics that exist.
Look at that center parting. That's what I said.
Yeah. Leon is very 90s in that game, and I love it.
It's so 90s. Interestingly as well, I found... It's probably the reason that I found RE1 so easy is because I always thought that Resident Evil 2 was really hard.
Oh, yeah. Probably, I think, in terms of gameplay... I think the OG Resident Evil 1, 2, 3. I think Resident Evil 3 is the hardest because there's no normal difficulty.
Yep.
But Resident Evil 2, like, if there was no normal difficulty and just easy and hard. Oh, wait, is there a hard mode in the original Resident Evil 2?
Don't remember.
Okay, so if there was just easy and hard, I think Resident Evil 2 would be more challenging than Resident Evil 3.
Yeah, I think that's a good assumption. It is really hard though, and it's interesting because last week we were talking a lot about how RE1, the original, is surprisingly easy.
Oh,
and
yes.
And it's like this steep difficulty curve into 2. The other thing that's majorly different is compared to last week is that we talked about how Resident Evil 1's hard and easy difficulty is kind of built into their characters. How like Jill is slightly easier than Chris. That's not the case here, is it, with the two characters?
I don't think so, really.
No, I don't think one is noticeably easier than the other. I think they're both kind of the same.
There's better campaigns. Claire Redfield is the superior character.
Easy, Tiger. This is a family show.
This is a family? Okay, wait, I already said fuck like 30 times.
You did. Do you want me to start by giving you the breakdown of how this game came to be?
Yeah, that happened last time. I'm fine with this. I'm fine with
Sure. It's tried and tested. Well, we mentioned we talked about Shinji Mikami last time, how he kind of led the show and built the game. Now he didn't direct this one; he only produced it. It was made over about 21 months, and it had a really, really bumpy production, resulting in an entire version of the game being scrapped and started again.
Yep. Resident Evil 1.5.
That's right. Yeah, it's often referred to as 1.5.
Yeah.
It's really hard to type that into YouTube, but that's how you find it.
Yep.
Now, I would say that RE1 put survival horror on the map, but it's this game that shot it into the stratosphere.
Agreed.
Yeah, I would say that survival horror is only as popular as it is now because of RE2. RE1 sort of showed that the formula exists and is possible to do well. But RE2 is the actual, let's make a great game out of this.
Resident Evil 2 is like, you know.
You don't even know what it is.
It's just that important to horror. It's like Resident Evil made the wheel. Resident Evil 2 made the rest of the car, including the 3 other wheels. And then Resident Evil 3 made it a tank.
I was also going to say that Resident Evil 2 is also it's a big game as well. Like there's so much more in it than RE1.
RE1's got like the mansion and like the groundskeeper area and then like the lab. And like the mines. But then you got Resident Evil 2. You got like a whole goddamn police station. You got the 2 routes for the police station.
You do. Or roots if you speak like a normal person.
Yeah, you got more characters, you got more story, you got more weapons. I think it's just more.
Well, I tell you one thing that I do remember about when the game came out is I remember reading in magazines and stuff, and it was a lot of like, but this time it's in the city. So it was like we've expanded the scope. Last time you were just in this one mansion that was filled with zombies. This time it's a whole city. But that is somewhat misleading, isn't it?
Yeah, because there's only like 5 minutes at most. No, not really. It took me like fucking 10 minutes to get to the police station. So,
But I mean, if you were to call the city streets part of the game a percentage of the whole game, it is small, isn't it?
but it's like two at
Yeah,
most.
because the game itself has a mansion, doesn't it? It replaces the mansion with the Raccoon City Police Department. It is the same formula as RE1.
But it's better.
It's
'cause it
better,
has two.
and it is expanded more. Like
It
there
is a
is
lot more expanded.
there is the streets and there are the sewers and there's the lab, but it's still, this isn't a different game. Do you know what I mean? This is clearly the same series. You're still solving puzzles in the mansion or the police department.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, how about you give me a summary of what this game is about in one sentence?
Really, really?
In one
The
glorious sentence.
Okay, so yeah, 90s fringe guy. He exists. He's going through the city, slaying zombies, I guess. And then you got a goddess over here, Claire Redfield. Heaven can't contain her. Fucking amazing. I love her with all my heart. She can step on me.
Oh my god! I can only
Anyway,
assume this description is getting somewhat off track.
and and then they like meet up in the gas station. It's completely platonic. Okay.
Nobody said otherwise.
Yeah, Capcom, screw off. It's canon. My ships are canon. Anyone else's
Yeah.
can go die. So Claire and Leon, but then they get separated, right? And then they go to a police station, and Leon meets like this ambiguously Asian lady named Ada Wong. Yeah. Anyways, and Clara Redfield meets Sherry Birkin, who exists, and there's like a monster, and there's also another monster, but this is in your second playthrough only, and he's called the Tyrant, but people in the biz call him Mr. X.
Last time.
Yeah, last time I did a better one last time.
I think you did a better job last time. Let's listen this time. So, Resident Evil 2 is a 1998 survival horror video game developed and published by Capcom for the PlayStation. This is actually more than one sentence. The player controls Leon S. Kennedy and Claire Redfield, who must escape Raccoon City after its citizens are transformed into zombies by a biological weapon 2 months after the events of the original Resident Evil. How was that?
I think I did better. Because
Yeah,
there wasn't enough of describing of Claire Redfield amazingness. So, yeah.
Yeah, also, their description didn't contain the phrase, everyone else's canon can go die. so clearly it's lacking in quality.
Yeah, I think my canon, the actual canon, we'll get to that when we do like a series overview of Resident Evil.
Sure, yeah.
I guess we have to do that.
So let's start with some similarities to the first game. So it still features fixed camera angles and pre-rendered backgrounds, so they haven't moved on from the pre-rendered backgrounds. I think they look a lot better in this one.
Oh, agreed. Game looks a lot better in general.
The original Spencer Mansion is it's a lot of bare walls, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And this time we got bare walls and we got not bare walls.
We've also got not bare walls. There's still an emphasis on survival and puzzle solving. Ammo and health is still super limited. You save with typewriters again, and there's the item box, which I don't think we talked about last week. That Resident Evil has this bizarre trope, which is the item box. You have limited item space, but you can store items in this box, which can hold seemingly an unlimited amount of items, but it's also connected to every other box in the world. So there's a very intricate piping system that goes through Raccoon City that allows you to store items. But either way, it's back in this game.
Well, here's my explanation
Go on
of
then.
the item storage thing, right? So there's a series of tubes,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And Umbrella employs the zombies to like move every item, right? So in reality, when Leon opens up an item box, like he has to wait like a good 5 minutes for the zombies to get there,
It's
but
like
they
he's
just skip over that.
it's like he's buying something in Argos. Same as last time, the game features two playable protagonists, each with their own support character. So Jill had Barry before and Chris had Rebecca. And like before, there are small sections where you play as those support characters. Although I think you never played as Barry in the original. You played as Rebecca, but you never played as
Oh
Barry.
yeah, you never did play as Barry.
Yeah.
Justice for my boy Barry.
Yeah,
Can we get a hashtag going? Justice for my boy Barry.
you wouldn't be able to handle him. This time around, your health has more physical effects on gameplay.
Agree. Yes,
Yeah, so
there's
that was a new thing
damage
they brought in, right?
indicators. I think so.
I don't remember you limping in the first one, but you limp in the second one when you get wounded, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and it affects like your movement speed and your posture.
Yeah,
In fact, that's something
it's
that
true.
that came back in the remake, and I've seen a lot of speedrunners when playing Resident Evil 2 remake will purposely let themselves get hurt.
Yeah, the caution because as Claire, you run faster.
Yeah,
I did it too.
her like terrified, wounded dash is faster than her regular running speed.
Which
So
kind of makes sense.
yeah, I don't know if it would work forever. I feel like you would collapse quicker.
Uh-huh. But
But
like in terms of if you're terrified, you probably run quicker.
oh yeah, definitely. And if you're hurting real bad,
I'd run to a safe room, fucking lock myself in, and yeah,
and then what?
I'd heal, I guess. And if I
Mm.
don't have healing, I'll just close the game out and hope for the best when they return.
We never actually explained the name of our podcast, like why it's called Itchy Tasty. Do you want to quickly summarize that?
So there's this note here, and it's a note, and you find it in a room, right?
This is in the original Resident Evil, in Resident Evil 1, which
And
would have been an ideal time to talk about it last week, but we didn't.
shut up, Raspian. This fits.
Okay.
So, and the note's like, hey, hey, hey. And I went to the doctors and they said, hey, 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 you can take off that hazmat suit, but you have to stay in your room and you're not allowed to like go visit your family.
There's so many triple H's
And,
in this note.
mhm.
And then he says,
And then, like, so not the main character, no, the main character of this note. Let's just call
this
him
this
Jeremy.
this is painful.
Jeremy. So Jeremy is like turning into a zombie, and then he eats like that not very nice person, and then he's like, "Oh, and then he's writing it in his journal because he's still like human, but he's also a zombie. He's a zombie."
Oh my god. Very
And
popular term in
so
zombie media.
he's still writing like in the things, and he writes like itchy tasty because he's itchy, but he just ate a human, and apparently humans are tasty.
It's delicious, yeah, and you can't fault the guy for that.
Yeah, you can't really fault the guy.
Yeah. So so this is a guy called the Keeper, and it's the Keeper's diary, and he's basically a worker at the lab who is slowly turning into a zombie and manages to keep a journal whilst he's doing it.
But you gotta respect the man. He's dedicated.
Yeah, and it gets like I think it's a really good part of the game, to be honest, because it gets like less and less coherent with each diary entry until
Agreed,
until
yeah.
the very last one is just Itchy Tasty, which is basically he is fully transformed into a zombie, but still sat at his bed writing in his journal.
I think what I'm interpreting is that like the virus is making him where he's like, yeah, I'm hungry for human flesh, but like his mind still works. It's just his morals are gone, and there's
Yeah.
the want. That's what I think.
Do you remember what he does immediately after writing that?
Oh, he hides in his closet.
He hides in the closet because as soon as you finish reading it, he comes out for a little scare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is
Which is probably my favorite jump scare in that game that I got to because I rage quitted.
it's
Anyways,
better than when the
uh,
zombie gets out of the bath, which I thought was really dumb.
I don't even think I got it in the original one.
Actually, I think it is only in the remake. I can't remember. I'm probably wrong about that.
I think it's in Chris's, but not Jill's, because in remake it exists,
Mm.
but
Well,
not
Well, anyway,
original.
that's why the podcast is called Itchy Tasty. But the reason I brought it up is because as I was reading up on that, I was trying to find the actual transcript of the Keeper's Diary to make sure that it was Itchy Tasty and not like Tasty Itchy or Itchy Delicious or something. But it is Itchy Tasty. And as I was searching it up, I found out that the in the original Japanese version, it's the Keeper's Diary is written in hiragana, but they actually misspelled it. They missed out the very last character of Itchy Tasty, which changes the translation from Itchy Tasty into Itchy Horse. So that's what it says in the original Japanese.
Itchy Horse.
Itchy Horse, yeah. Imagine being a Japanese gamer in the 90s and playing that and being like, oh my god, this guy's turning into a zombie. And then the last thing he says is Itchy Horse. And then that's it. He was gone. He was gone.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So here's my fun fact I learned that you probably knew and just didn't bring up. So you know Enrico Marini?
Oh yeah, the captain of the Bravo team.
Yeah, there's an actual person named Enrico Marini who exists in real life.
Wow. Is
And
this someone you know?
No, he's an artist. I think he's a famous one. I don't know.
Do you think he knows?
That I know him. That he
Well,
knows
that he's a video game character.
I hope so.
You should tweet him.
Yeah.
Get him on the show.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know if he actually worked on. He might have actually worked on the game too, which would be a really cool thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he did.
Well, I think I mentioned this before. This is again just we're talking more about Resident Evil 1, but that's fine. Whatever. I think I mentioned before that like I saw a YouTuber that tried to track down all the original voice actors for Resident Evil 1. And he tracked down who he thought was Jill, and he interviewed her, and she was just so like indifferent about the whole thing. She was like, "Look, I recorded like a million things back in the 90s when I was living in Japan. I would record multiple things in the same day, so yeah, it's probably me voicing that Jill character, but I don't remember, and I wasn't that interested anyway." And I was like, "Come on, man!"
You're probably part of one of the most famous franchises of all time.
Yeah.
I personally think one of the most empowering female characters in one of the most popular franchises. Because as much as I love Claire, I have to admit Jill is more famous.
Wouldn't have a Claire without a Jill.
You would not have Claire without a Jill. That is true. So I gotta.
So yeah, she just doesn't remember. She thinks it was probably her, but ultimately doesn't really care. Anyway, back to RE2. One of the most radical new things introduced in RE2 was what Capcom bizarrely referred to as the zapping system. Do you know what I'm referring to with the zapping system?
I know what a zapping system is, but I don't think Resident Evil 2 is a zapping system.
Well, what do you think a zapping system is?
I'm thinking RE0 zapping system.
Oh, that actually makes more when you press whatever button is not the button you actually wanted, and you switch to the other player mid-boss.
Yeah.
It's actually not far off.
Yeah, it's a two different character dynamic. That's what I thought.
That's right, yeah. So this is where...
It's just the weird terminology in that.
It is super weird terminology that doesn't really explain what it is, but... essentially, the zapping system is where there's two campaigns for both main characters throughout the game. So this works through the A and the B scenario. So just to explain, you pick if you pick Leon first, and you can pick Leon or Claire, but if you pick Leon first, you'll do his A scenario, and then you follow it up by doing Claire's B scenario.
But here's what I just said. I just say there's two different characters, right?
Yeah.
And they both interact, but you can play as either one, and depending on how you play, it affects the other campaign. Because you think, oh, that means like the decisions you make. No, it just matters which one you do first.
Yeah. I mean, there are some decisions that affect it.
Really?
Yeah. We'll get to that. But the main reason this is significant is because in the first Resident Evil, if you pick Jill, then Chris spends the entire game in a prison cell, and vice versa. So it's like only their adventure happens and the other players doesn't. But in this, if you pick Leon, Claire is still having her own adventure, just elsewhere.
And then you can go do her adventure later.
Correct, yeah. And you can then do it the other way around. So you can do Claire first and then Leon later. So there's effectively 4 different games to play.
And I'm pretty sure the canon continuity is Claire A, Leon B.
There is a canon continuity, and I think you might be right. I'll have to check it up.
But we all know the true continuity is Claire A and Claire B.
Claire A and Claire B, and Leon just never turns up.
Leon can just, I don't know.
But like you said, choices made in the A scenario can affect stuff in the B scenario. So there are things you can do that affect it. So, for instance, there's a part where you find like a weapons locker, and it has a hip pouch, so you can increase your inventory. And it even comes up with a thing that says, I'd better leave this for Leon, or I'd better leave this for Claire. So you can choose to take it in the A scenario, but then it won't be there for the character in the B scenario, and they may need it more. So there are parts like that. I think also the shutters in the police station that you can put cables in to put the shutters down to stop zombies coming in. I'm pretty sure whatever one you choose to shut in the first one is the same one that's shut in the second scenario, and you can't change it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and also when you're in the B scenario, you tend to explore a slightly different part of the police station more than you would in the A scenario.
Yeah.
So when you're going to put those shutters down, it's sometimes worth thinking about, is it worth me closing the shutters in a place that will help the B scenario? Of course, when you play this for the first time, you have no idea about any of this.
Well, yeah, luckily I did that.
I messed it up real bad. I took everything in the A scenario and made my B scenario incredibly difficult.
Oh, God.
But that's just an example of how this game is really, really big compared to the first one. There are 4 game modes. And there are also 2 bonus unlockable modes, which I'm sure we'll get to in a bit. Let's go through how the game came to be, if you want. Because I mentioned that it had a really rocky start, and we briefly mentioned that it was scrapped.
1.5, yada, yada thing.
Yada, yada, yeah. Now, one thing that I found really interesting about this is that production on this game began a month after finishing the first game.
That's not a lot of time.
Yeah, so this wasn't a case of like, let's wait a year, see how it does, and then we'll start another one. No, we're starting the next one now. So they started making this in 1996. Now, apparently in the early days, Shinji Mikami, the director of the first game, had a lot of creative differences and disagreements with the game's new director, Hideki Kamiya. And he kept trying to influence the team toward like his vision. Like he was like, don't listen to that guy, he's crazy. I made the first one. Listen to me.
That's great.
Yeah. Eventually, he was kind of forced back and was given. Yeah. He was given more of an overseeing role as a producer.
Poor man. It's like your baby.
Yeah.
It's like giving someone else your baby, and then they turn the baby into a drug addict. I'm not saying I hate Resident Evil 2. I'm saying I would not give up my baby to someone who could possibly make them a drug addict. I don't have a child. Hit me up if you want to have one. But anyways, I think you should give him a lot more freedom, even as a producer.
Yeah, well, he did demand to be shown a current build of the game every month.
Oh no! Okay, I take everything back. I said with my baby analogy. Go let him die.
Oh, you've really turned on Shinji.
Like, dude, development's hard. I used to develop games in my fair spree.
Oh yeah,
that's fair free time.
What sort of dating sims did you make?
Oh, damn it, how'd you know? But yeah, back to the development.
Sure, yeah. Well, so he demanded to see a current build of the game every month, and this is what would eventually lead us to Resident Evil 1.5, the game that was completely scrapped halfway through. What do you think the main reason Shinji Mikami decided to scrap the current build of the game? And it was like 2/3 done at this point.
I'm pretty sure it was because it did not live up to their standard of quality, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're totally right. But when I was digging in, I found the direct quote from Shinji, which is, "It's just really, really boring." So this was a real bad situation for Capcom because they're already facing that the kind of troubled second album. Do you know what I mean? They made this amazing new game, and everyone's super excited for the sequel.
Well, I'm glad they scrapped it.
They brought a new writer in who was a huge fan of the original game.
Yeah, I think it's important to have fans
Yeah.
on your games.
There's a middle ground you've got to reach there because you don't want it to just sound like bad fan fiction.
Yeah.
But luckily, this guy was also a pretty skilled writer, and he's the reason that a lot of the script was fixed. He's also the one who made the decision to remove the new original character, Elsa Walker, and replace her with Claire Redfield to connect
Let's
it better.
fucking go.
Yeah,
Let's fucking go.
So you like this guy now?
Personal hero.
But the reason he did that is to help connect it better to the first game, because Claire Redfield is Chris Redfield from the first game's younger sister. And that decision almost does feel a little bit like fan fiction.
Down.
I'm bringing in my own OC that's Chris's younger sister, and she's sexy, and her boyfriend is a video game writer in Japan.
No, shut up. I'm her boyfriend. Shut up, Rasp.
Yeah, okay. All of the artwork was reworked because it looked really boring. I don't know if you've seen clips of Resident Evil 1.5, but it's got all the bare walls from RE1. All the walls are just grey and empty. So yeah, super boring. So all the art was reworked, and also the rooms are really bare. Like you'd go into a big grey room and there'd be like a desk with a computer just in the middle of it and nothing else.
Damn, that really hits home.
Yeah. One thing I read is that when the backgrounds got super detailed, each background took 2 weeks to render on 90s computers. Also, an interesting thing is Shinji Mikami wanted this to be the end of the series.
I think Resident Evil 3 would have been a better ending.
The supervisor, a guy called Yoshiti Okamoto, disagreed and wanted Resident Evil to be like a large expanded universe similar to Gundam and James Bond is the quote he said, which is so wonderfully Japanese. That is
James Bond and Gundam.
Yeah, Gundam, those two, you know.
I prefer Johnny English personally.
The classic duo of Gundam and James Bond.
Gun Bond.
So I think Yoshiti Okamoto is kind of responsible for Resident Evil as what it is today, because it is a huge expanded universe that, you know, has movies and comics and video games. It's even got video games and action figures and books.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I never knew.
Whereas Shinji was like, no, we'll do 2 and then we're out. Then we'll do something weird.
I would have still rather I'd have 3 be the ending, because that would have made sense.
Yeah, 3 has a very conclusive ending, but maybe 2 would have had a more conclusive ending if Shinji would have had the go ahead to do that.
I think it would have had the explosion.
Yeah, well, RE3 ends with the city being nuked, but RE2 doesn't. So RE2 is kind of an open ending.
Which I like open endings.
Yeah, especially if you're planning for this to be a franchise.
Uh-huh.
But Shinji was like, I'm bored of this already.
RE1, I think with its ending, if it wasn't as successful as it was, I think they would have just left it alone.
The ending of RE1 kind of works on its own, doesn't it? All the loose ends are kind of tied up. I mean, Wesker sort of gets away.
Yeah, but that's only like one version of the campaign, right?
Yeah, I think in one of the endings he is like skewered and killed, and then his body is still there. I can't remember.
I think he gets bitch slapped in one of them, and then he gets not bitch slapped and like pokey in the chest.
Pokey.
Yeah, shut up, man. I've been around my mom like the last week, and all she has like, where are my flippies? Anyways,
what's a flippy?
A flip flop.
Oh, the shoe you wear at the beach that I never wear because I hate them.
Fucking hate the beach too.
Yeah, I live on the beach and I hate it.
Oh,
that's mean. Well, no, my beach is stones. It's not sandy.
Oh,
which
beach is sandy.
Actually, I don't know why I'm complaining, because I hate sand and I much prefer stony beaches. So I'm just complaining because I can. That's all.
Oh, okay. Oh, back to RE2. Back to RE2.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the last thing I was going to mention about the production is that the marketing. Well, one thing that's majorly different with the first one is the first one had live action intro sequences and
I wish
endings,
RE2 had a live action actor.
but it doesn't, does it? They're CG. They're like what do they call it at the time? FMV, full motion video.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They were FMV sequences, which looked amazing at the time. A bit hokey now.
Oh, I feel PS2 FMVs were pretty good.
Yeah, but this was PS1, and it
Yeah,
was
PS1 FMVs.
yeah.
Like, I guess Silent Hill 1 had decent
Oh,
FMVs.
I argue Silent Hill 1 has some of the best FMVs ever. Sybil in the intro sequence. This is totally unrelated, but Sybil in the intro sequence looks like a real person. Still.
And not to mention, it was done by literally one person.
Yeah, and it was me.
Yeah, it was you.
It was me. That's what I did that summer. Although RE2 didn't have live action cutscenes, it did have a live action commercial on TV.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it was directed by George Romero.
Wait, actually?
Yeah, George Romero of Night of the Living Dead directed the trailer for Resident Evil 2.
That is very cool.
Yeah, and it's kind of got that Romero kind of hokiness where like the zombies like reach out at the camera and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks awesome. Like, yeah, you see the RPD and Leon and Claire in costume. Very
I
cool.
like Leon's hair in that one, though.
What, Leon's hair?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that guy was arrested for something. Can't remember. But
I think in the commercial he has like curly hair.
yeah, they gave him kind of because it's this is the thing with video game characters. It's sometimes hard to like make them look like real people, especially when they've got that weird ginger center parting that Leon Kennedy had. But they kind of just give him curly hair, and I actually think that's what they'll do with the actor who's playing him in the new movie reboot. I can't remember the actor's name, but he's the guy from Zombieland 2. I think they'll just kind of give him wispy curly hair. I don't think they'll give him the parting. But
I would love if they did give him the parting because that would look absolutely hilarious.
it would. It would look very, very funny. Because Leon's such a dork in the first game, isn't he?
He's like, I can't quote him.
It's when he first sees the first liquor and he's like, "Oh boy." He's such a nerd in that. I love it.
Leon, I love RE2 Leon, including remake, because he's so innocent. And then there's like a straight up fucking steep ass like not even an incline, like a gradual, like it's just a wall from RE2 Leon to RE4 Leon.
Oh, where he becomes Triple X. Also, RE2 is one of the in fact a lot of the original Resident Evil games, the characters talk with their arms, don't they? Because the in-engine doesn't allow them to like move their mouths to determine who's talking. They just wave their arms as they're talking.
Which, I gotta respect. I move my hands when I talk.
And their hands are enormous as well in that graphic engine, aren't they?
Same. But
Yeah.
fuck, maybe I am an RE engine character.
I remember really early on in the game, you go into the gun shop, Kendo's gun shop, and Bob Kendo, the owner of the gun shop, pulls a gun on you, and then Leon does his wavy arms, and he's like, "Hold your fire! I'm a human."
And then Claire's like, "Oh, I'm a human," and he's like, "Yeah, what's up, babe?"
Oh yeah, that's so funny. He says the exact same line, but calls her babe. That's the only difference.
That is the greatest. That's one of the greatest lines.
That's so funny.
You were a chill sandwich.
Yeah.
Shut the hell up if you haven't heard my boy Bob Kendo spit in the facts.
Yeah. Sorry about that, babe. Yeah, he's so good. If you want, I can tell you some things that were in Resident Evil 1.5 that didn't make it to the main game. Or maybe some things that did make it to the main game. So RE 1.5 was way different to the game that we ended up getting. It was actually shown at the V-Jump Festival in 1996, and that's where most of the footage that before it, because now I think you can like download a mod of it or something. But before, the only footage we ever saw was from this V-Jump Festival. The plot follows the same basic outline: zombies, Raccoon City, 2 months after the first game. However, in this version, Umbrella had already been closed as a consequence of the first game. Yeah, so the STARS team came back from the mansion and they were like, "These are the bad guys," and everyone was like, "Thanks, STARS."
Honestly, I think realistically that would happen because bribery can only get you so far.
That's true, yeah, because in the game we got, it's that like Umbrella covered it up essentially, and the STARS got disbanded, and yeah. The two protagonists were Leon Kennedy, who basically remained unchanged in the final version. But as we mentioned, Claire was originally a blonde motorcycle racer named Elsa Walker. Unlike the final version as well, these characters do not cross paths with each other. And they had two supporting characters instead of one. So, so Leon had help from fellow cop Marvin Branner, who made it to the final game.
Just not as a big boy character.
No, not really. You find him dead, and he looks a lot like Will Smith in the original. I don't know if you remember his character model. His face looks exactly like Will Smith. It's really strange. Marvin Branner helps him out, so we got him in the final game, but he was mostly just a dying cop. But in this version, he was going to be another character. And Leon also gets researcher Linda, who was an early version of Ada Wong, the ambiguously Asian lady that you mentioned earlier.
We're so smart.
We're so smart. Now, meanwhile, Elsa got two characters. She got Sherry Birkin, who remained in the final version, the little girl, daughter of the main villain of the game. But she also got a guy called John, who I don't really know very much about. But one very interesting thing about John is his character model was later reused as Bob Kendo.
Thanks, John.
So Bob Kendo, the gun shop owner, if you watch the footage of Resident Evil 1.5, you'll see him just wandering around.
Thanks to my homeboy, John.
John Bobby Kendo.
John Thaniel. John. Me.
Well said.
May you live in our hearts.
Yeah. There was also a bunch of other surviving police characters that never made it into the game. Like there was one that was Leon's friend, a guy called Roy.
Rip Roy,
yeah. So there you go. There's some differences. There was some other things like the fact that characters could equip armor. You could also equip things that would increase your inventory space. And that did make it through to the final game because you get the hit pouches.
Yeah.
One thing that I thought was really interesting and really surprised that this didn't make it through to the final game is, remember before we talked about how when you lose health, your character will noticeably limp and stuff?
Yeah.
Well, in Resident Evil 1.5, they actually visibly change as well. Like they have wounds on them and their clothes are ripped.
Oh, that's actually really cool.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of weird because like if you eat a health herb, your clothes are going to restitch themselves.
I don't think you know how herbs work.
I really, really don't. Why don't you tell me how healing herbs in Resident Evil work?
So you know how oxygen works, right?
I actually do, yeah.
So, like, the oxygen from the green herbs revives you, and you get, like, a good fresh breeze of air.
That is exactly correct, probably.
And then, like, the air... because the green herb has, like, these little weavers dudes, and then they weave your clothes together. That's how you would have gotten repaired in that.
It's perfect. But yeah, so that was Resident Evil 1.5. Do you miss that version?
For obvious reasons, I'm happy with the one we got. I think 1.5 could have been interesting. I think if Urza... Was it Elsa or Urza?
Elsa.
My whole life has been a lie. So, Elsa, right? I feel like she could get her own game, and I think that would be really cool. But I'm glad Claire Redfield is in her place for obvious reasons. But because that would mean I'd probably like Ada Wong, and that's not allowed.
No, I think RE2 has a much better atmosphere than RE1, and I think it's from the fact that you start in the city and it is like completely overwhelmed. In the city part, you don't really fight the zombies, do you? Because you have no means to. Well,
let me just say this. I think you're just a coward.
You used your, 10 bullets.
Let me tell you this. There's a little thing called easy mode, and I can tell you, they give you, 120 bullets at the beginning. Let me tell you a little thing I like to call killing a lot of zombies. I can't. I have the means to do it.
Well, I think the main difference is in RE1, you're not allowed to go outside because there's dogs out there. But I got really frustrated by that because I was like, I've killed a bunch of the dogs here. I've got a grenade launcher and everything. But in this game, you really do get a sense that you can't go outside because it's way worse out there than it is inside the police station. I don't know if I'd be very good.
You never see child zombies.
In Dawn of the Dead, there's child zombies.
Yeah, but this isn't Dawn of the Dead, dumbass.
That's true,
This is Resident Evil 2.
I also think RE2 has one of the best villains in Resident Evil.
Oh, we're talking
In
about
William Birkin.
Birkin. Yeah, okay, yeah, Birkin. I call him Birkin, not William.
I think one of the things I like about him, although when at the time when I was reading about like before the game came out and I was reading the story and stuff, I remember an article in some 90s game magazine that said, "You thought the T virus was bad. Wait till you get a load of the G virus." And I remember at the time thinking, that's so lame. Like that's that's not how you up the stakes in a sequel. Don't just give it another letter.
Well, I would have called it the TG
The
virus.
TX.
Ooh, okay,
Ooh.
that's more intimidating. X is really intimidating.
Especially in the 90s. It's extreme. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the zombies in Resident Evil 2 are T virus zombies. It's only Birkin that has the G virus, right?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah, because the point of the G virus is that it's way more powerful than the T virus, but it's completely unstable. And he injects himself with it. And the reason I really like him as a villain is because you fight him multiple times throughout the game, and every time you fight him, he's less and less human.
Mm-hmm.
So the first time you fight him, he's mostly human with just a big bulging upper body.
Yeah.
But he's still got his regular face. He's holding a big pipe.
Mm-hmm.
But by the end of the game, he's a big blob monster.
Yeah, I think he's a good bioweapon to fight.
Yeah, he's really good. I really like that guy. We should talk about the other scenarios, the unlockable scenarios.
I never did.
So there are two unlockable scenarios. The first one is called the Fourth Survivor, and you get it. I think you get it just by beating the game, or maybe you have to get an S rank or something. But you play as one of the Umbrella goons escaping from the sewers, trying to get to the roof of the police station, and it is real hard. Or maybe I just sucked at it, but it was hard.
I think that's Hunk, right?
Hunk, yeah, that's right.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's mostly just a gauntlet. Like you just have to run through areas of the game and get to a certain place without dying.
Yeah, which is just it's just bullets and bloodshed.
Yeah, it's actually a really fun, like, once you've done the main game, you get this kind of pure action, run and gun mode.
I remember I may have attempted it.
I never beat it in the original. I beat it in the remake, but I never beat it in the original.
The version was a lot easier.
Still hard, though.
It's still hard.
Give me some credit. It took me like 100 tries.
It's still fucking hard, but it's not as hard as
And I had YouTube holding my hand. Like I was just pausing a video being like, tell me exactly what to do now. Just here's the controller, you do it. But do you remember the other unlockable scenario in RE2?
Mercenaries.
Oh no. You're forgetting one key character in Resident Evil 2.
Tofu, right?
Tofu, correct, yeah. So I can't remember how maybe you get it if you beat Hunk's campaign. I can't really remember how you unlock Tofu, but it's exactly the same as Hunk's campaign. You just do Hunk's campaign again, but as a giant piece of tofu with a beret on.
Yeah.
Do you know why Hunk is in the game? Why Tofu is in the game?
Why?
Yeah, like why there is this bizarre giant piece of white tofu that you play as.
For me or
I want you to tell me.
Okay, so you ever get like really hungry?
Oh yeah.
So like start fantasizing food, right?
Oh, so much, yeah.
But like imagine you're a zombie, right? But you're a vegan zombie.
That's a hard zombie to be.
Yeah, vegans it's hard being a live vegan, but imagine being a zombie vegan.
Well, zombies basically only have one thing they do, and it's not vegan friendly.
Yeah. So you gotta be like, oh, I need to eat something. So you're playing as Hunk, but from a vegan zombie's point of view.
Oh, so they see you as tofu. You're not actually a piece of tofu.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting, but wrong.
Yeah, so
They're completely wrong.
I can't remember a fucking vegan zombie.
I really liked that. That's a fan fiction.
Yeah, that should be one.
So Tofu is a hitbox. That's what he is. He's a hitbox tester. When they were testing the game, you would control a big rectangular white box, and that would be the limits of your character's hitbox. And while they were testing it, one of the developers was like, "It looks like a giant piece of tofu." So they thought it was funny enough that they put it in the game as an actual character who came back in the remake.
I gotta give respect to Capcom for that.
Yeah. Well, that's what's great about Capcom. They make these super serious games, but they're also kind of silly and weird. Yeah.
Which I think our Resident Evil, I can say both because I'm a fan.
Oh yeah.
I'm on a first name basis with Resident Evil. I can, you know what? Yeah, Resident. So Resident it's a serious game franchise in terms of horror, except RE6 and 5, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's serious when it counts, when it needs to be, but then like the rest of it can either it's just a blend.
It doesn't mind having really goofy parts.
The game is pretty goofy.
Yeah.
If you think about it, zombies in a mansion.
Zombies don't live in a mansion.
They live in the wilderness.
They live in police stations.
Dumbass.
Speaking of that old boy, that was probably one of the most memorable parts of the game for me. It was seeing the lickers for the first time in this game, because lickers are real tough in this game.
Oh yeah.
And you get introduced to them very early on.
That's like probably the first enemy you fight in the police station, actually.
Yeah, I think you might be right. And it's they're like one of the toughest enemies in the whole game, and it's almost like the hunters from RE1, but you meet them at the end of the game, whereas here you meet them right at the beginning.
Yeah, but I think you're intended to get Kendo's shotgun.
Yeah,
which you can get, but as someone who didn't know that you can get it during my first playthrough, I was like, oh yeah, this seems legit. And then you have like 10 shots in a pistol. And
that's not enough for a licker.
The strongest enemy in the game that you can fight.
Yeah.
So it's like boss. So you're fucked.
I think I told you this before, that I used to call them crawlers because I didn't know what they were called.
and the thing is, there's like an actual note in the game that says that they're called lickers.
Yeah, well, I don't read stuff. I've got stuff to do.
Yeah, you got zombies to shoot.
And in my defense, they crawl a lot more than they lick. They have their big long tongues, but they very rarely use them. But the lickers were cool because it was one of the first times in Resident Evil that there was like an actual strategy.
Yeah. Wait, you could have been quiet?
Yeah. So lickers are completely blind. You can walk past them.
I thought that was only in RE5 and onward.
No, you can do it in the original.
Huh, I did not know that. That's
you can.
Cool.
I definitely didn't know it at the time. I was going to list some of my most memorable jump scares from RE2.
Oh.
Do you remember any in particular?
The window one got me.
Which window one?
There was the first one.
What, where the licker crawls past the window?
That one didn't get me.
Oh, that freaked me out.
Where the zombie hands come to grab you out of the window.
Oh yeah, that's another one of those like you didn't get this in the original moments, isn't it?
Yeah, I love that. It's great.
I agree. That's a really, really good one. One that I totally forgot about. For me, there's 3. The one where you're in the interrogation room with the two-way mirror, and you pick up an item from the other side. You're in the side that's with the mirror where you can't see through the window.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an item on the other side of the room. You pick it up, and as you're running back, a licker smashes through the mirror. Holy crap. I became a man that day.
You became a man?
That was the day my childhood innocence died. Holy crap, that scared me so much.
What are your other 2?
Oh, so the other one is the tyrant character that stalks you around. I think only in Scenario B. I don't think he appears in Scenario A.
Scenario B, yeah.
Yeah. There's a part where you're in the press office, the room where the police make the press conferences and stuff. And you have to solve a little puzzle in there. And then when you're done with the puzzle, Hunk, the tyrant, smashes through the wall.
His name was Hunk?
No, sorry, not Hunk. Sorry, Mr. X. What am I talking about? Sorry, Mr. X.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, not Hunk. Forget him. Mr. X. Sorry.
That's what I thought. It was in Hunk's playthrough.
No. Sorry, this is in Scenario B.
Then you said solve a puzzle.
Yeah, Hunk doesn't have time to solve puzzles, does he?
2 poggers, man.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, it's Mr. X. Sorry, the tyrant in the trench coat smashes through the wall, and it's actually a double jump scare. Because firstly, him smashing through the wall is a big deal because that is not a thing in the original. Like, whole walls are not interactive. When you go through a door, you're completely safe from the zombies in the previous room. They can't get through. But this guy smashes through the wall. So that was a big moment. Like, oh my God, they can actually do that in this game. But once you've just about got over yourself and changed your underwear, you run and leave the room. And as soon as you leave the room, he smashes through the wall again, exiting the room. So it's like a double jump scare. It's very scary.
Badass, but
yeah, very cool moment. The final one is, I think, the most significant in terms of this wasn't in the original. Like, you weren't expecting this, and It's when you go to like a little work shed round the back of the police station, and there's a door that leads outside back into the streets. And I don't know if you remember what happens when you try to open the door.
I don't.
So it does the little door loading transitions in Resident Evil, which is where you see like a door in first person and then the camera goes through it. But as the door opens in the middle of that transition, it opens revealing 2 zombies in the loading screen.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah, and it plays the dun 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 music, the really intense music. And as soon as the loading transition ends, you haven't gone through the door, you're still in the same room, but the zombies are like on top of you. And it scared the bejesus out of me. Mainly because like you get used to those loading transitions as almost like a little breather.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, I made it out of the room. Whew.
Yeah. But
So-
then
it's like you're not done yet. Dun 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 dun.
yeah, false sense of security.
Yeah, and I don't think Resident Evil did that again. I think it was only in that bit in RE2 that it does it, but it's so effective.
That would have been great if they did do that more.
Do you want me to give you some trivia?
Ooh, yes.
I can give you some-
Probably right, but yeah.
I can give you some trivia. So the zapping system, which, as we've established, is the bizarre name for that A and B scenario system.
Makes sense in other games, but not in
Correct.
this one.
That was inspired by Back to the Future 2. So
Was it?
yeah. So you know how in Back to the Future 2 you see the events of the first game, but from like a different angle. The first movie, sorry.
I just accepted it.
Yeah. Well, Shinji Mikami was like, I want to do that. I want to be able to, see the events from the first scenario from a different point of view. So it was inspired by Back to the Future 2. There you go. So no Back to the Future 2, no Resident Evil 2.
Well, I'm glad Back to the Future 2 came out.
Yeah. So another bit of trivia is about the FMV sequences, the CGI cutscenes. They were made by filming action figures in stop motion and then rendering the CG models over the top of them.
Okay. That is really cool.
Yeah. But they couldn't have been Resident Evil 2 action figures because they weren't around at the time. So they must have just got random action figures like a Barbie or something
For Claire.
for Claire. Yeah.
Early on, this is 1997 or 6, so
That's true.
I don't
Yeah.
think they.
Ada was the only character they didn't finish in time, which is why she's the only main character that doesn't appear in an FMV sequence. She never does. She doesn't. Even Annette Birkin, a character you meet like once in that game, is in a CGI cutscene, but Ada never appears in an FMV sequence.
Ada doesn't deserve. I have a thing against Ada.
I'm getting that impression.
Yeah, really?
She's ambiguously Asian.
Just go fucking full Asian, Capcom.
To be fair, this is a thing we've talked about before. How like how Asian Ada is changes game on game.
Like original RE2, you can't really tell.
She's kind of Asian American in that one though. Like you can sort of tell from the character model.
RE4.
She's just a full American girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then RE6, I think she's kind of Asian again.
Yeah, and then that's it until RE2 remake, and then RE2 remake. I think she's Asian.
Yeah, and in the CGI movies, I think she's slightly more Asian as well. But it's weird that like in RE4, she is just like a Californian girl. Yeah. Very.
I think this is the only time I'll say anything good about the W.S. Paul Anderson movies. The W.S. Paul Anderson movies, I think, handled Ada's Asianness well.
Yeah, she was really well cast in that, I thought.
Yeah, she was really well cast.
Yeah. That was a terrible movie, but she looked the part in that.
She did. I don't hate any of the actors or actresses in the Resident Evil movies. Because I do like some of them a lot.
Do you know, I would love for us to do an episode on the Resident Evil movie franchise.
I think it would take like episodes.
I would love to talk about that.
I would do.
I saw the second one in the cinema. Anyway, I saw the second one and the last one in the cinema.
I didn't watch any of them in the. Oh, actually, I kind of did because rich boy parents.
Oh yeah.
And they have like a home theater thing.
Oh damn! Perfect for watching the Resident Evil movie franchise.
Yeah, well, since it's basically just a glorified action thing, yes, it is.
Yeah.
I'll send you a picture of it when we're done.
It always, this is totally unrelated, but it always reminds me of, do you remember in Tropic Thunder? Remember that movie with Ben Stiller and all those guys?
Yeah.
Do you remember Ben Stiller's character as like an action hero that makes all those like multiple movies that are like apocalyptic and then one's in the ice and then, do you remember those?
I don't think I've watched Tropic Thunder in a long time.
That's his thing, that he stars in like this long running series of action movies where it's like the end of the world, but each movie they keep trying to raise the stakes and it's like this time it's more the end of the world.
Yeah.
And it just feels like that is the Resident Evil franchise, the movie franchise.
That is the Resident Evil movie franchise.
Anyway.
They could just not. Okay, back to RE2.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. We're definitely doing an episode on the movies now. You've psyched me up for it.
I'm excited too.
Anyway, there was a N64 port of Resident Evil 2, which is amazing, to be honest, to try and consider that.
Fit all of that game on a cartridge.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that was always said about CDs versus cartridges is CDs have much more space, right?
Yes.
But RE2 was 2 discs because it was such a big game.
How did they fucking do that?
And they somehow fit it onto an N64 cartridge. Amazing.
I don't know if it plays worse, honestly.
I don't even care. I'm just like that is an amazing achievement that you managed to support that.
If it ran like it's on a potato.
Yeah.
The N64 kind of was a potato, if you would. But the N64 is I love the N64.
Yeah, me too.
Anyways, even if it can barely run it, that's still impressive.
Yeah, 2 full PlayStation discs into a single N64 cartridge is amazing. Anyway, there are some exclusive things in the N64 version that aren't in the other versions.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Mostly like files that you find, like extra like diary entries and extra bits of story that only appear in the N64 version. But there's one in particular that I thought was really, really interesting. And it's called Rebecca's Report, which you find in the STARS office. It's my girl, yeah. And it basically details the events of Resident Evil 0. And it even names Billy Cohen in it.
Well, yeah, because Resident Evil 0 is supposed to be an exclusive for the N64, I think.
That's right, yeah. Originally, it was going to be an N64 game. But it's weird. It's like they wrote out the events of the story years before the game was even announced.
Well, because there is... you saw the N64 demo for it, right?
Yeah, with the white beret. I remember.
Yeah, it's that. So I'm pretty sure that it was like, this is a game we'll make eventually. So let's tease there. And I guess they had like the story done.
That's cool though, right? That you can find that.
That is really cool.
Give you another bit of trivia. So we talked about Marvin Branner, the dying policeman. You find him huddled up in front, like dying on the floor next to some lockers. One of the lockers says JoJo on it, which is a reference to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. There you go.
I don't know if that's an actual reference, but that is a cool reference.
Apparently, it is, according to a website I found, and you can't doubt those facts.
But I think it's not. But that is a really cool reference. If it is
good, but if it's not a cool reference.
Well, I guess if it's a reference to like another popular thing with JoJo on it, then yeah. But
I don't know. I don't know any other popular JoJos. I'm sure there are some.
Well, I guess there's JoJo Siwa, but I think she was still a fetus, not even a fetus.
So it's either a reference to that unborn person, or a reference to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Take it. I like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but
I've never watched it.
Oh, really?
How does that make you feel? I've never seen it.
It's pretty good. The community sucks.
Is it like reference it in a classic PS1 game good though?
I mean, I guess.
Okay, good.
If that is a reference, because I'm thinking from an American's point of view, but JoJo's Bizarre Adventures was quite popular in Japan at that time as well. So I think
it's possible.
There's a possibility, but I'm not 100% sure.
Earlier on, we talked about how you can choose Leon A or Claire A, and then Leon B and Claire B. And we said that there is a canon.
And it's Claire A, Leon B, right?
It is Claire A, Leon B. Do you know why that's officially the canon?
Because Claire meets Marvin.
No.
Oh, well, I think that's the actual canon, but I'm
the,
intrigued
the
to hear what you
the
have to
the
say.
only reason it's now officially the canon that it's Claire A, Leon B is because when it's in the Wii game Dark Side Chronicles.
Mm,
In Dark Side Chronicles, you replay parts of Resident Evil 2, and it's Claire A, Leon B in that game. So
well,
Dark Side
thank you.
Chronicles confirmed it.
Yeah, that's probably the best looking Claire Redfield. I gotta admit there.
I still think Rev 2, Revelations 2, is the best
I
looking
think
Claire.
Rev 2 has a very good looking Claire in terms of her age, but I think of pure just hotness, you gotta go with Dark Side Chronicles.
Yeah, I really don't like Claire's outfit in Code Veronica. I really don't like it.
True.
So I'm with you on that. My favorite Claire outfit, if I'm going to be honest, is her OG, where she's in like these like pink denim hot pants. So cool.
If we're counting costumes
Oh yeah,
like in the RE games, I gotta go with the Noir. I don't know how to fucking say it.
noir, noir.
Noir.
Yeah.
Noir. The Noir costume.
The white shirt, loose black tie. Yeah, she looks cool, right?
Mm-hmm. And
Um,
if
but yeah, anyway, so actual canon confirmed by Dark Side Chronicles is Claire A, Leon B. However, in the novel, it's the other way around. It's Leon A, Claire B.
really?
Yeah, in the book, it's the other way around. There you go.
Well, the book's not canon.
I will say in the OG games, Raccoon City is more of a town than a city, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the remakes, there's like skyscrapers and stuff, but I don't think there are in the original. In the original, it's just kind of
I think
small
RE
apartment buildings.
is definitely more city based
Yeah,
than town because that's big. That
yeah,
is a big game. But I still think it's quite town like in some aspects. But our remakes make it a lot more city like.
yeah, yeah. It's possibly that it was always going to be a big city. They just didn't have the capabilities to show that at the time.
Yeah.
Um,
Wait, it makes sense.
give you some more trivia here. So, according to the official Capcom page at the time, Wesker was there when Ada fell at the end and saved her. Confirmed. There you go.
Well, I mean, wasn't Ada working for Wesker?
Well, so she falls to her death in this game, but then appears as like a shadowy figure and gives you the rocket launcher. And then when we see her again, it's RE4 and she's working for Wesker. So I think the idea is that she was. It's really unclear who she's working for in this then. Maybe she's working for Umbrella or something? I don't know.
I mean, she's not working for Umbrella because I think she's working for a rival company that Wesker went to join.
Could be that, yeah. But the point is, Wesker saves her and then she works for Wesker.
Yeah.
So confirmed, Wesker was there in Resident Evil 2. Capcom said so.
And also, there is that Rebecca photo.
Oh yeah, we should probably mention that. So it's really odd. There's an Easter egg in RE2. It's in Wesker's desk, isn't it, in the STARS office? And you have to search it. I think it's 50 times. Because if you search his desk, it just says there's nothing here. But if you do it 50 times, you find a film reel which you can then develop, and it's a picture of Rebecca in like a basketball outfit. And I think it just says the rookie or something, doesn't it?
So 1998. So Rebecca was 18.
She was very young. She was 18, yeah. Because she's like the prodigy child in that. Like, she's super intelligent. She's the youngest person to ever join the STARS. And
She has no experience. What the hell?
well, the thing is about Rebecca is that Rebecca was like a superstar at university. She was like way ahead of her class. And she could have done anything, but she wanted to like go where the action is. So she joined STARS.
The events of RE1 and 0 take place in June, right?
Yeah.
Her birthday is May 25th.
So she's only just 18.
She's not even close to being 19.
Yeah,
she literally turned 18.
she's only just turned 18, and Wesker keeps this creepy picture of her in a. I mean, it's not like she's in her underwear, but it's pretty revealing, the outfit, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's May 25th, 1980 is her birthday.
Yeah, it's a good thing he's the villain, right?
Yeah, because if that was Chris,
Creepy.
yeah.
Speaking of Chris, got a little factoid for you here. So it's about Claire's outfit. So Claire's outfit has the Made in Heaven thing on the back, right? Which is the same as Chris's jacket. If you remember, he's got the Made in Heaven on his back. So otherwise, we wouldn't know they're related, right? you have no idea who's related unless they're wearing the same symbol on their outfit.
Yes.
But that Made in Heaven is one of several references to Queen throughout the series.
Oh, it is,
It
isn't
is
it?
a reference to Queen, and there are many references to Queen in the Resident Evil series. More to follow. I'll bring them up as we come past them, but that's probably the first big one.
That's interesting.
It's a very weird ongoing thing in Resident Evil that they keep sprinkling in these references to the rock band Queen, but they
I
do, and this is one of them.
I'm not the biggest Queen fan, so I'll probably not pick up on a lot of them.
You will be by the end.
I will be the biggest Queen
You'll be
fan
the
there ever
biggest Queen
was.
fan. You'll know all the references.
I
Um,
know there's a guy named Freddie in it.
that's not untrue. The other thing I want to mention, the last bit of thing I want to mention is about Leon's alternate costume. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I think
Do
so.
you remember what was pretty cool about his
He had a
alternate costume?
gangster one, right?
What's that?
He had a gangster one.
It was like a baseball cap and a vest. I don't know.
Yeah, but I hope you know when I said gangsta, I didn't say ER, I said an A. It was
Oh,
gangsta.
gangster with an A and a dollar sign as the S.
Yeah,
Yeah.
GAN $ T and then A. And
Yeah.
not when I say gangster, I'm talking like a mob.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, yeah.
Mafia.
But you know what was super awesome about that costume?
What?
He holds his gun with one hand.
Oh yeah, he
Yeah, it's
does.
so cool
Oh,
for some reason.
that's why I called it gangsta one.
Yeah, he holds his gun with one hand. So cool. Do you remember where you get the key for the costume place?
No.
You get it from Brad Vickers, the helicopter pilot from the first game.
Bro, Brad's got good style,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Now, what's interesting is we find him as a zombie in this game. He's in the underpass by the entrance to the RPD, and he's like a super zombie. He takes like a bazillion shots to kill. I think he's only there if you play on hard difficulty and if you don't like fire any bullets up until that point.
That's weird.
Yeah, I think it's something like that. You have to get through the streets at the start without firing any bullets, and if you do that and you go into the underpass right outside the RPD, Brad Vickers is there as a zombie, the helicopter pilot from the first game that rescues you. It's also the first time we ever saw Brad Vickers
Oh yeah.
because you never see him in the first one. He's just in the helicopter.
That is true.
Yeah, it's interesting, and you empty all the rounds in the world because he takes 5 bazillion bullets. Kill him, and he gives you the key for the locker, which unlocks the secret outfits. But what's cool about that is we see him die and turn into we don't see him turn into a zombie, but we see him killed in RE3.
Yeah.
So it's almost like this is a teaser. Do you know what I mean? Like we see him as a zombie, and we're like, how did this happen?
I
There you
don't
go.
know if they were planning RE3.
No, I have no idea either. In fact, I know they weren't because we'll get to that, but it had an equally troubled production as
Oh
this.
yeah, RE3 is supposed to be
A different
I
game,
know
right?
that.
Yeah, and all that.
We'll get into that with our next episode.
We will, but yeah, it's cool though that Brad is in the game. You would have no idea that that's who he is.
True.
But it's him in his little yellow stars outfit. That is my summary of Resident Evil 2. Do you feel like you remember playing the game now?
I feel like I'm really there.
You're in the game right now. You're with your ambiguously Asian support character.
Oh, no, let me have this.
I just want to end quickly by talking about the amazing ending to this game because the ending is incredible. It's one of my favorite things about this game, and I mean the true ending, which is when you complete scenario B, because the ending of scenario B goes on a little longer than the ending of scenario A. There's like a surprise boss you have to fight,
Yeah.
and after you beat it, you escape the city on a train, and it blows up, and the game ends in the daytime, and you're on the outskirts of Raccoon City. It's Leon, it's Claire, and it's the little girl Sherry Birkin. And do you remember what happens in the original?
I have a feeling I'm remembering the remake, so go on.
So in the original, it's slightly different depending on who you pick, but I'll tell you the Leon version. It's kind of the same, but the lines are just slightly different. Claire's like, it's finally over, and Leon's like, it's not over yet, and then she's like, oh no, you can't mean, and then he goes, that's right, it's up to us to take out Umbrella, and then it cues this absolutely banging jazz rock tune for the credits, which is so good.
Oh my god.
Like anyone listening, I implore you to go out and search on YouTube for the Resident Evil 2 original ending credits music. It is pure 90s jazz rock. It's amazing.
That's the best kind of jazz rock. Yeah,
It's so good.
yeah, it
Yeah.
makes me want to become the jazz rock.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think we did it, right? That's Resident Evil 2. Anything else you wanna lay down about Resident Evil 2?
Well, I guess this episode's about done. So the episode.
I let you do the intro, but you've ballsed up the ending.
Okay, I'll do the ending.
Go on then.
So this was the very intellectual talk about Resident Evil 2. This is only for intellectuals. In fact, we might have a guest intellectual.
He's gone off script
one
again.
day. Shut the fuck up! What does that have something to do with?
But yeah, I think we're going to be talking about RE3 next, right? I mean, if we decide to, maybe we'll do a different game. Who knows? But
yeah, we'll never do RE3. RE3 is my least favorite. RE3 is my least favorite game
ever.
Yeah, ever to
It's your least favorite thought.
Yeah,
but I think we probably will do RE3 next before we move on to a different game or something, because these first three are very much a trilogy, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
And not to give any spoilers away, but let's just say, yo, Daniel, pull up in my whip.
I don't even know what you're talking about, but I'm intrigued.
The person that the person that will need to understand it will understand it.
Good. A nice in joke that doesn't even include your co-host. Fantastic. So good. Good. Well, anyway, thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.